Good evening. Another edition, back-to-back nights, the Equine Edge weekend preview show. But it's a special weekend, everybody. We got the Kentucky Oaks tomorrow. But tonight, we are going to talk Saturday Kentucky Derby. Total of 9 stakes races, 8 graded stakes. Great card on Friday. Oldy and I covered that last night. You can find that on the YouTube channel, Equine Edge, also on X. But I got 2 great handicappers with me. Oldy join us later as well. But Mr. Mike Saletta, last NHC brother, 2026 semifinals. And then we have the champ, always joins us, Mr. David Harrison. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Little midweek work week trip, so I'm dragging a little bit tonight, but I'm excited about the weekend. I don't know about you guys, but I am always excited about Derby weekend.
Yeah, and I'm doing well. I'm recovering from sitting out in 45-degree weather watching my grandson's baseball game. So I'm a little. If you see me, this may be a Thursday preview show. Bailey's and Derby because I could probably use a Bailey's after my dinner.
Right.
But other than that, I'm looking forward to obviously the Derby's a great. Oaks and Derby, one of my favorite weekends. You got to look for spots. You've got large fields. You've got pools where the payoffs can be enormous. And the key is, in my opinion, is pick your spots. Right. So, really looking forward to it. And analyzing these races is a lot of fun. So I'm ready to get started.
Before we do, welcome everybody. Randy, in great news, you brought it up. The Old Saturday show will be here this Saturday. We will be live on Saturday talking all Derby and, maybe throw a couple other races in. We'll see. But, big weekend on Saturday. We will all be here. Mike, you'll be here. David, me, maybe Scotty make an appearance. Oldy going to be live at Churchill. I don't know what his plan is, but he'll be enjoying himself with him and Dave Duncan. But we will be live on Saturday at 1:30 Eastern. Be a great show. All right, Pocketful, good to see you. Bill, Gilly, Randy, Flatter, Mr. Soto. I met up with him down in LA when I was there a few months ago. Alan, good to see you. Been a long time. Sam as well, and everybody else. Feel free to jump in the chat. But we are gonna start. Well, before we do that, tomorrow night, Mr. Saletta, you are hosting a kind of a live Oaks strategy Derby discussion. Do you want to give a little plug and then we'll jump in?
Yeah, just real quick. It's our typical Friday night class, although obviously we're going to have a little special edition because we'll get to see the Oaks live. So come join us. We'll put together probably an Oaks Derby ticket, double ticket. We'll handicap both for the most part. We're going to handicap today's Derby, but we'll take care of the Oaks Derby double tomorrow night. Maybe some other fun 2-day or daily events on Derby Day too. So
you can find it on X or Facebook. I think the easiest way, a little bit different than a normal coaching class. Or you can reach out to Mike or I on, however, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever it is. All right, gentlemen, let's dive in. We have the first stakes on Saturday, bright and early, my time, 9:38 Pacific. I always love it. It starts early, but we're starting in race 4, even though races start at 8 a.m. my time. The Derby City Distaff $1 million purse. Oldy made sure to send me a note that it sounds like Holland Ice is scratching here and racing on the turf for Staffy. So keep that in mind. That is what Oldy told me earlier. You will see if you're Equine Edge user tonight, these little yellow dots mean an Equine Edge analyst put notes on those horses, and I think Oldy did already here. But Mr. Saletta, what were your thoughts here? Mares 4 and up, is the chalk good, or are you going elsewhere?
Yeah, I am actually looking a little bit further from the chalk. So I landed on number 5, Splendora. Now, if you look at her recent form, right, she really has not done anything wrong. She does have 2 wins, going 7 furlongs. Granted, she's a West Coast shipper. I am familiar with her, obviously covering Santa Anita and Del Mar, and she has been, a little biased because I've been a huge fan of hers for quite a while. But like I said, she's got a 7 furlong win back at Del Mar at the Breeders' Cup, right? So that's a huge win. And then followed that up, which is unusual. Oldy spouts off this stat quite often. I think it's like 6% of the time horses coming off of their Breeders' Cup event after a pretty decent layoff, they aren't winning first out. So that was pretty surprising that she was able to come back and win at Santa Anita, going 7 furlongs in the D. Wayne Lucas Grade 2. So this is a little bit stiffer competition when you look at it from an SOR perspective.
Yeah,
very practical, right? The thing is, she's won on the lead last time in the Beholder Mile, going an actual mile, right? And then those 2 furlong races, she was sitting off the pace, half furlong or a length to 2 lengths off the pace. So you can tell that she's able to sit in any position. Now with the sounds like the scratch of one of the speed horses, that kind of changes things a little bit. You got to kind of look at our disaster on the front end. But again, Splendor can keep pace with just about anybody on this page, in my opinion. Right. So you get Pratt, who's an excellent rider. I don't know if he's even better at 7 furlongs than he is and 2 turns going, in routes and stuff. But you got one of the best jockeys in the country. So
yeah, she
go ahead.
I mean, she the real deal, though. Like I think she is. I mean, that's a good grade 1. Short field. And yes, I do think, like you said, the scratch of Holland Ice might change the pace dynamic a little bit. Mr. Harrison, where'd you land?
Well, typically my strategy here on Derby Day and Oaks Day is to look for value when value is there. So I'll go right to my top pick, who is not, and now I understand Mike Saletta's top pick landing on Splendor, which makes sense. It's the Baffert, won the Beholder, cutting back in distance. The horse is 7. She's 7 for 12 lifetime, 2 for 4 at the distance. I mean, the issue is here. When I look at the pace dynamic originally, with Our Disaster having a 94 and Holland Ice with a 91, I'm anticipating a speed duel. Now, you kind of rained on my parade there, Justin, with scratch of Holland Ice. But at this point, I may have to pivot, but let's go with the picks that I made. And so I'm anticipating a speed duel originally, and I'm worried about Ways and Means off the layoff, and that would have been my top pick. Splendora makes perfect sense, but the horse I think is a sleeper here and may have upside is the one, Usha, and that's Baffert's other, the stablemate, Baffert's other here. And if you look, maybe last year, I mean, she doesn't seem to class up. I mean, it took her a while to break her maiden. And, she wasn't, she won an optional claimer at Del Mar, and that was her claim to fame. That looks like her best race. And the race before, when she broke her maiden, they put her in a stakes, the Raven Run, at 7 furlongs. And she rushed up and then died. I mean, and had nothing left. But I like the comeback race in December. She's off. That was a very impressive race at almost 6 to 1. She won the La Brea, which is a grade 1, sitting off the pace. She's working well, draws the rail. And I think that now, even with the scratch of Hauling Ice, if you look at the pace metrics, our disaster becomes the lone speed. Who's got the second pace, highest pace metric is Usher. I think Usher now, I really would have loved to see Hall and Ice in there to set up the pace speed duel with Usher making the first move. And so I think Usher may get a jump on the other closers here, which Ways and Means and Splendora. So I looked for a little bit of a price here. So I went with the 1 Usher. I like the rail, maybe saving some ground. So that's my top pick at this point in this race. Looking for a little value right off the bat.
So with Hall and Ice on the race sim, was definitely a good show speed from the inside. I flipped that around. 6, obviously, our disaster is fast. Everybody talks about Saffie don't win these races in Kentucky. It's such a low percentage, but a gaff ride, you take Hall and Ice out of the race. I mean, maybe gets loose. 5 win the race sim. Usher's right there, David. If you run it from the second to the finish, is going to be closing, right? So, but I landed with you, Mike, and put Splendora on top. I just, I'd like Ways and Means, but and I think Chad going to win some races, and Jose just riding outstanding. I'm sure we'll talk about her in a moment, but I put Splendora. I mean, I think it's a competitive race, but I all along was kind of 5 or 4, and I don't think I'm going to change my opinion. So, but I would. I mean, maybe the 6 is live long shot on the lead now. But I have Splendora on top. So I got Splendora. Mike, you got Splendora. David, Usher. Mike, underneath anybody that you wanted to talk about?
Not really. I mean, this is just it's going to be a thin group here. Ways and Means wasn't obvious. My only concern there is she's coming off, 10-month layoff. Chad can get her ready. It's not a overly major concern for me. But I just prefer somebody that's raced recently and had some success. And Splendor is the one. David's Usher is a great horse, and I've seen her. Same thing, a little bit concerned about the layoff, but Bob's another one that can get horses ready off layoffs that are pretty good size. And Trey and Malcolm, who is actually it's Trey in the chat, always says always play the other Baffert horse, and a lot of times I'll do that. But not this time. Splendor is just too good for me, in my opinion. I just can't. I'm going with Bob's top horse this time.
Yeah, David, I put our picks up on the bottom for everybody, and we'll wrap up this race in a second, move on. But we all have the 4 in second. It looks like. A comment real quick on Ways and Means.
Oh yeah. I was debating whether to reverse that order and put the 4 on top because I really think the 4 is the best filly in the race, best mare in the race. Excuse me. I mean, really, when you look at last year's this race last year, she ran in. She was coming off a layoff, but not as long of a layoff. She came out of the Breeders' Cup sprint, filly and mare sprint, where she finished a respectable 5th, only less than 2 lengths away from the winner, and she had a terrible trip. She came back off a layoff and was favored in this race last year. And I think the only thing that got her beat was the sloppy track. So to me, Chad probably had her ready. She races well off her layoff. And then she just demolished the field in the Bed of Roses. Now, don't get me wrong. That was a weak field. And she was by far the best horse in that race. And it was no contest. This was like a walkover. I was there to witness it, and she was very impressive. So now she's making the same move, but the worry I have, a slight worry, is that this is a longer layoff. Last time it was November through May. Now it's June. I don't know what the situation was coming off an injury. She may need the race, but be careful, because if she doesn't need the race and she's good, I think personally she's a better horse than Splendora. If she repeats that Bed of Roses off a layoff, this race is history. So I will play the 4 as a solid second, I would play a 4-1 exacta box, and those will be my 2 horses. And an honorable mention, obviously, you can't knock Splendora, so it would be, again, I was debating, should I put the 4 first, or I'm like, what the hell? I'm going for value. Let's put the 1 on top as my top pick, and the 4. But I still have a little bit of a concern with that long layoff. Almost 11. It's like 11 months, but so Ways and Means a solid second for me.
The only, and then we'll probably can, we talked about Our Disaster already, but, the only other comment, Pratt doesn't ride here. So why did he not ride? Like, I don't, that's my only question. Like, why is he not riding Ways and Means?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like that's what kind of tipped me to Splendora. Like, so take that for what it's worth. I haven't heard. If somebody knows, feel free to drop it in.
Very good point.
And yeah, David can break down a race. I agree. Okay, let's keep going. That we'll probably keep him about maybe right around that time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can break down a race, but sometimes I want to warn you. Sometimes the horses I pick actually do break down, so it's embarrassing. But you get it both ways.
All right, we got the 5th at Churchill. We'll be right around 1 Eastern. The Twin Spires Turf Sprint, David, always your favorite type of race, a turf sprint. It's a pretty, I thought, kind of competitive group, though. But $600,000 for the boys. It's a grade 2. David, since you love turf sprints so much, you get to go first this time.
Oh, thank you. I am honored. And, if I really break down my ROI on turf sprints, it is probably a very, very ugly situation. But, once in a while, so the bottom line in these races, I just play long shots. I think, you've got to get off slow. You've got to get off fast out of the gate. These races are fast paced. You one misstep early in the race is going to cost you. I just thought, gentlemen, that this race was just impossible. There's some 5.5, 5 furlong sprints that I can almost handicap and have a pretty good feel on it. But I think you're going to have a contentious pace. Joe Shiesty is the clearest speed. Bear River, full disclosure, is going to show some speed. So it's Joe Shiesty's race to lose, in my opinion. But there's no way that I'm going to bet that horse. In a race like this, My Boy Prince is no value. I think that horse has got a chance. So let's go to my top pick. Again, I'm looking for value here. And the horse that I settled on reluctantly, and I promise you it wasn't by a dartboard or a roll of the dice. I'm going with a shot with Tyler Gaffalione. I think Tyler's going to have a big weekend. And I love the way he rides these turf sprints. And it's the 8 horse Mondo Gets Buckets. Okay. The only reason I like this horse is off the last race at the Shakertown Grade 2. Had the 7 posts, was 17-18 to 1. And, it was a typical fast pace, and came, had a good run. He rallied up the rail and only missed by 1.25 lengths. So, and that the 2 horses that he lost to, My Boy Prince and Yellow Card. So I think possibly, and the race before at Fairgrounds, he just missed by a neck. And the race before that, just another second. So maybe this horse is improving. I love the Omaha Beaches on turf sprinting. And so I'm thinking maybe this horse may have a little upside. And if I can get, what's the morning? 8 to 1 morning line. The EE morning line, I think, was 12 to 1. If I can get anywhere near 8 to 12 or 13 to 1 and a feel like that, that's what I'm looking for. So I ultimately landed on 8 Mondo Gets Buckets as my top pick here. Just looking for value. and the fact that he's less than 2 lengths off of my boy Prince, who's going to be the favorite in this race, most likely, right? So yeah. I think he may be able to, with the right trip. And again, on these sprints, it's the right trip. So, it's these, you just have to hope that he gets a good trip. Like I said, I like Tyler, the way he rides the turf course. So I'm on the 8.
Yeah, I looked at that race, David, the Shakertown, and watched the horses there. So yeah, I could see this horse winning based on the trip it kind of had. Mike, where'd you land on top?
Yeah, just to kind of talk about that race, because 7 of the 10 faced each other in that race. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. More than 3/4 of this field, or about 3/4 of this field, raced against each other in that race. So it does help you kind of see how they raced against each other, the race shape, and how that went. Basically, I'm ending up on the 10, and I'll give you a reason why. So my boy Prince did end up chasing down Joe Shiesty down the stretch, and then outlasted Yellow Card. Oops, I just lost my EE. Hold on a second. Outlasted Yellow Card too down the stretch. And it was a pretty crazy pace up front, what I thought. And I actually thought that Joe Shiesty was going to win that race. I'm watching it back even, and you obviously know what the results was, but it was kind of even surprising watching it back that he wasn't able to hang on in that race. I lost my E and all my notes.
Well, no, you're good. I mean,
that's crazy. So go
ahead.
So I'm going to go off memory because I can't see my screen. So like I said, and I think 5 out of those 7, if I'm not mistaken, or there a bunch of these ended up in the top 5. So to your point, David, they were within like 2 lengths of each other. It was such a blanket finish in a lot of ways. Although, my boy Prince did end up winning by I think a length and a half, but they were all, or length and a quarter, but there were 3 or 4 of them within another length of each other. So it's pretty awesome that you're able to see a lot of these folks running against each other just so recently. The thing I think will be much different here, and why I landed on him is I just think that pace was he was pressed a bit going around, and I think that he can sustain it without that pace pressure. I don't think he's going to get that pace pressure. If you look at the pace number for him, it's significantly higher, right? And if he runs a similar race and style back and can control that pace, I think he can wire the field just by controlling that front end, which he wasn't really able to. The other part of that, I think he came out of the 11 hole. I know he's on the outside. That's the only negative, right? Is he's going to have to come from another outside post. But the better thing here is he's got nobody else really. All the other speed is well inside of him. So he's not going to have to fight somebody else on his inside to gain position. He's going to have much clearer grass, right, to get moved over before he hits the turn. So I think he'll spend a little less energy out on the front end. And that's why I think he can sustain it on the front end a little bit better than he did the last race.
Yeah. No, it's and you'll see Oldy put a note there, the same angle.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and I had this horse, I think 3rd or 4th, because I agree it could happen. The post isn't ideal out there, but it's fast. My concern, I think Bear River fast, so that's why I put, I think that's right. I put Yellow Card on top, so I took Yellow Card out of Shakertown. I don't know. I kept watching this race. Mr. Pratt rides back, which I like to see. What didn't have a great start, and like the trip overall was not good. And like if there's enough speed in this race like that, I think Flavian Press, it's like a perfect trip. I love the price on Yellow Card. I think it's a total lifelong shot. I mean, hopefully getting 4-1 around there. I would definitely key in this race on Yellow Card for me on like some things because I like the price. I like Pratt. I think that trip just wasn't great. And like it's all gonna come down to is Bear River gonna press enough? I think so with Joe Shiesty. I think they go quick enough. So that's what let me see if I had any other notes. Yeah. So the other, I was just, and a lot of people know me. I look at a lot of post position stuff. The 7-8 post sprint and 5.5 on the turf do amazing. So David, that's good for your horse and my horse. Yeah. Because they get that good trip from there. It's not like way outside. Flavian Press should be able to find a spot like sitting right off. So we'll see.
Yeah, I hear you. So the only thing,
Chris is saying Yellow Card will get bet, and I agree, Chris. Like and with Pryor, you're probably not getting 4-1, right? So good to see you, Mr. Couples. That's awesome.
Yeah, Justin, just real quick. The only it was between Yellow Card and Joe Shiesty, and I guess you could knock Joe Shiesty a bit too. But my concern with Yellow Card is the last 2 races and breaking, right? Even with Pratt aboard last, he broke 8th out of 12 out of the 4 post, right? And I don't. Again, I'm not saying two data points make a trend here, but that's my only concern with Yellow Card. I think he's going to have to break better too to get that position. So that was my only concern why I put him second. Oh, and I put Joe Shiesty over though.
Yeah. Let me. We're in race 5. Sorry. So you got Yellow Card in second, and then David, who'd you go to your second pick?
Yeah, I'm going with out of the Shaker Town. Since my top pick and the 7 Yellow Card and the 9 Litigation, who was actually favored in that race, were separated by less than a quarter length. Those are the logical, second and third picks, right? Don't forget, Litigation was favored, and again,
I know,
favored, 7-2. That shows you what a contentious 12-horse field that was.
Right.
And don't overestimate or underestimate. I'm sorry, the change in jockey. Irad picks up the mount on Litigation.
Yes.
Gutierrez is off. He's been riding that horse forever. So that's a positive. And I just think Yellow Card with Pratt, these are logical. Those horses were this close in the last race. So why not reverse the tables a little bit and go with the best price is going to be Mondo Gets Buckets. And I'm counting on the 3 not getting the perfect trip that he got last time, right? So again, it's the trip that's going to do it. I'm looking for value, and I think the 7 or the 9 are solid second or third choices. So I'm looking and figuring that at the price, My Boy Prince is absolutely no value. Will be the favorite, and I'm not counting on a favorite to get the same trip he got in the Shaker Town.
Yeah. We're all right around the same horses. So, I think we talked about My Boy Prince. Has improved as a sprinter, obviously, and running, the best of his career, probably. You look, was up on the synthetic at Woodbine. We watched My Boy Prince run a lot. Oldy does have a note there in his model that projects as a weak favorite, and I can kind of see that in a turf sprint, taking a short price out of that race. Like the horse fits, but in my opinion, like I say, no way is a lock in this race, in my opinion. So
yeah, that's a good point, Bill, too. That last race, you could see that he has a very nice late kick. It's just, I think, again, a repeat, it could happen if Joe Shiesty it gets pressed, but this is a great race. I will pass on this race in the contest. I'm just going to watch and enjoy it.
Yeah, and again, full disclosure, right? Not say, even though I'm making picks, the big thing with these a lot of races in 2 days, and with my bankroll, I've got to pick my spots. And as you guys know, this is most likely an entertainment wager for me. And sometimes what happens is that, watch, those 3 horses will come in with, exactly in the triple. I'll have $1 triple box and $1 exacta box. And in the races I really reach out that I have more confidence in, I'll shit the bed. And I'll be like, well, if I reverse that, but it's still a good stakes race. It's good quality horses. And I will have a small wager on this race. And I just want to address anybody in the 6. Anyone think the 6 in race 5 has a shot? The Zavis 6805. I have to tell you, I looked at this, and anytime Jeremiah O'Dwyer sends out something, I look because he's a really, really sharp trainer, and was in the Shakertown at 20-1, got off terrible, and in the long run only finished 4 lengths behind the winner. Is the horse has won over the course? Is the horse a little cheap? Possibly. But I could see the horse possibly running a good race, getting a trip, and hitting the board, no doubt, at a big price. So it's not a horse I would just throw out totally. I may have a problem with the 6 in the win spot, but I could do anything in second or third. If with one of the logical horses gets a bad trip, gets off slow. So this is a quick race. It'll be over fast. So it won't be too painful if my horses don't break well. So,
Mr. Couples thinks it's Prince and Yellow Card. I like that, Chris. I'm all about Yellow Card. I definitely am going to play this race. Unlike you,
it's going to be a good race.
You guys are too scared. You're sitting on the sidelines. Okay, we're going to Churchill Downs race 6. The Knicks go. This is where we will start on Saturday. We'll be on Saturday at 1:30 Eastern, right before this race. Dragoon Guard, the speed and pace here. Mr. Saletta, I did cut the 5, 9, and 11. If we need to add them back, we will. And what were your thoughts here in the 200,000 Knicks go? The only non-graded stakes. It is just a stakes race, but it's still a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I landed on tour player number 6. So this race, to me, I trimmed it down, right? So it was between Dragoon Guard and tour player. I was kind of going back and forth with those 2 guys. And then after that, I'm going, wait a minute, I got to take a look at BU as well. So I trimmed it down to really just 4 horses. And then where I separated myself with the 6 is, beat the last 2 races kind of in a tactical position, 2 lengths back in that 100K race at Colonial, and then came back with a strong kick in the finish, right? Got let up a little bit towards the tail end, but I think he kind of had it in hand. That was against the 72 SOR group, facing an SOR group of 70 today. Should get the pace set up with Dragoon Guard most likely getting a lead and could get some cheap speed pressing him, right? So that's where I feel that Dragoon Guard, where I kind of came off of him, is that he could get enough pressure off of some cheap speed to allow tour player to sit that trip, maybe a length or 2 lengths just off the pace. But obviously, if the 5 and the 8, I think, are the 2 cheap speeds that should be able to press, if they don't fire for any reason, then obviously the Dragoon Guard is going to be tough to catch.
Yeah, okay. So you have tour player on top, Mr. Harrison.
Okay, let's cut to the chase with a horse I want to destroy and basically knock the hell out of. And that's the 2 Dragoon Guard, which would lead me to my top pick. Pace metric advantage. Lone speed, blinkers off, throws the inside. How could this horse possibly lose? I'll tell you why. He makes every effort to lose to everybody in this race. Last race at 3-5, he loses to Tour Player. Race before that at 7-5, he loses to Moonlight. A couple back, he loses to Will Take It at less than even money. He loses to Best Actor at 2-5. Who does this horse not lose to in this field? Yeah. He is impressive early. When he wins, he beats nobody. But again, I'm not telling you to throw him out totally, but I'm not using him because of his past history. This is the definition of a money burner. Now, because of the pace metric, and it's not an overly strong field, I agree. Maybe you want to use him. I am trying to avoid him. If he wires the field with Irad, wouldn't shock me. I'll be like, okay. But his tongue can be hanging out late in the game. And Tour Player, Mike's horse, beat him the last time out. So why won't he beat him again? And again, that was off a layoff in his defense, and it was Colonial Downs. It's a weird track, no form. I still can't figure out that racetrack. They don't race there for months, and then they go right on the dirt. So he probably needed the race, okay? But he still lost again. Numerous times he loses as a favorite. So this leads me to my top pick, and this looks like a really no-brainer to me. This may be my best bet of the day. Yeah, I'm looking at a horse, the 4-horse BU, who I landed on. Top win percentage, top SOR, top GSR, EE first pick. I mean, when I see something like that in a weak stakes race, non-graded stakes, I'm all over this horse. I think this horse is totally my single on a day in any horizontals. I do have, and again, he comes out of the strongest race. He comes out of the Carter, which is an 80 SOR. He drops down to a 70. No one has been in an 80 SOR recently. That's a grade 2, the Carter. I know what people are going to tell me, but Dave, that's only a 5-horse field. He really didn't beat much, granted. But I think he has a class edge. I'm not a big Mike Rapoli fan. I try to avoid him like the plague. And usually when I bet his horses, they lose. And when I don't bet his horses, they beat me. But in this case, I think this race sets up perfect, stretching out to a mile. And I think, he was entered today and got scratched, which, so that leads me to believe they have confidence in this horse winning. And I think this horse is probably my best bet of the day. So I'm clearly on the 4 BU.
You're kind of convincing me. So I originally put the 4 on top, and my concern on Dragon Guard was the same, but I still had worry that horse might wire the field. But I'm like, man, this is a pure money burner, David. And so I landed on Tour Player on top, but honestly, now going through all of that with the pace like this, it'd be 6 or 4 for me. I don't really have a, but David, with your strong opinion and like kind of your, when all the algorithms align like that, it can be really dangerous, 72 overall, which is everybody, but then also is the top GSR. And that algorithm just got redone. It's always good to sort that because the top 4 win like 70% of the time in the GSR. So I thought it was between those 3. I don't have a ton to add, I don't think.
Yeah, the only thing I was with you, Justin, right? The only thing that separated me between the 6 and the 4 was the 4 wins that Tour Player has had at Churchill Downs. 2 of those being a mile, right? So
yes, yeah. It's always good to have Churchill dirt form, right? I mean, in general, horses either like that track, they don't. The only and I can't remember. Give me 1 second. I was gonna put because Mike, I'll let you talk too, because I think you might. Oh no, you were 6'4" Yeah. The only other horse I'll talk about from although I'm not sure I would use a long shot here, but it's Banjo Chris, mainly because the GSR increase. and this horse getting to 8 furlongs, I'm really interested on the stretch out, but this horse might not be good enough. I mean, ran 2 great races last time, 6.5 at Turfway Park. I mean, Rab Boy here. I think this horse is obviously in form, but I don't know. I think we'll run a good race. I don't know if it can win, but the GSR increase is intriguing because it goes up 15 points. And you go back to that Churchill effort versus 72. I mean, was then the 10 post in that race. The 9+ post going 8 furlongs at Churchill Downs, 3 for 105 going back to January 1st of 25, 3 for 105. So toss that race. Like, why? I mean, this horse come back to Churchill, be ready and live. I mean, this horse 100% I thought could blow up the board potentially. So I'm probably more like 6-4-2-3. But I don't, I love David that you like the 4 so much, because I probably key some stuff with the 3 even. So maybe get really good value. But and then Mike, you were 6-4-2 and David 4-7-2. So why don't you talk to us about the 7 before we move to race?
Sure. Listen, Dallas Stewart with a long shot on Kentucky Derby Day. How can you go wrong? You're going to get a price, right? And the way I approach my handicapping and horse playing is value and looking for things that other horse players are not looking at. This horse, the last race was a little disappointing in the Oaklawn Mile, the Grade 3. He got wired by Knew What's New in East Ave. And Neo Equos was in that race too. So that was, that was a tougher race, correct? So much tougher field in my opinion. I don't know what happened to him. He won the last time out at 5-1 at a mile at Oaklawn in looks like a small overnight stakes. He's an in and outer, granted. He raced in the Cherokee Mile on November 30th over this racetrack, lost to Moonlit and Dragon Guard. And there's another horse who's a contender. Moonlit beat Dragon Guard before. I don't love the outside post, as Justin just mentioned, but it wouldn't surprise me if that horse ran well. But if I go back, I mean, this horse last year, May 22nd at Churchill Downs, had beaten Dragoon Guard, and also Tumba Rumba was in that race. And he won at 7-1 that day with Brian Hernandez. Brian Hernandez is back. He's on board. And Dallas Stewart is 2 for 4 at this meet. So his barn's getting a little hot, and he's got a nice work on April 15th in preparation for this race. So I'm going to be solid here on a 4-7 exacta. And I figure the 2, I'll give Dragoon Guard a little chance. He'll be hanging on with a desperate 3rd. And again, I think Tour Player would be my other horse. But, again, off of that last race, he again, Dragoon Guard may reverse the tables on him for the 3rd or 4th place finish, in my opinion. So, so I'm solidly on the 7 for my long shot exacta.
I like the angle there. Like, a couple of people in the chat. My reason for cutting the Calder, the 9, like, I just cannot play that post. Like, when there's a stat like that, that's that, like, and you can't win from the 9 post. I love Louis and like Scotland, great horse, but I just can't do it. David talked about the 11. Like, for me, I just always keep that opinion. I don't change it. I'll let the 40th time, and I don't think it's Scotland. So that'd be my comments on the 9.
Yeah,
but
similar thought too with the 10. Justin,
yeah, no, it is.
Because I think that 10 had a solid chance too, but I just didn't like the post.
No.
Right, third off the layoff, has won at Churchill Downs. I think his last 3 wins, if not all 4 of them. Let me look back. Yeah, three out of his 4 wins have come with junior aboard. Right, so I mean, I thought that horse had a great chance. I just don't like the post.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think that my note says can't win, but will run well. Fits here. Post will be tough to overcome. Yeah. And coming off the, third off the layoff is a good angle in my opinion, but that just makes it tough. It's so tough with those posts. All right, let's keep rolling, gentlemen. We are 3 races in, and we got 6 more. Perfect. Yep. Churchill Downs race 7 is up next on the turf, going 8 for the mares, 4 and up. Longines Churchill Distaff Turf Mile Stakes. Big $1 million pool, gentlemen. I did cut the 6 and 8. Pinup Betty is scratched as well. I cut the 6, but Pinup Betty did scratch. If anybody did not know that, there will be no Pinup Betty in this race. All right, Mr. Saletta, they're on the turf going a even mile, 8 furlongs. What do you think?
Yeah, I struggled with this one a bit. There's a couple that ran here. The 5, I'm not gonna real quick on the 5. 5 got caught in the Honey Fox by Lush Lips and kind of an inconsistent breaker, and that's kind of where I was first initially looking at. So that kind of threw me off a bit. So I kind of went through the cycle of looking through every horse because I was just having a painful time with this race. And I just felt that there could be a little bit of a contentious pace up front. So I was looking for somebody to close. I think I didn't check a lot of the races today, but turf, 2-turn on a turf have been favoring closers as well. So I just said I'm going to look for somebody off the pace. And that's where I landed on the number 3, Portfolio Duration. Second off a layoff for Chad, gets my main man, Flavian Pratt, to ride, and who's always dangerous on the turf. Nothing against Sammy because he is a fabulous rider down in Tampa. But you get Flavian, it's Chad's boy, aboard here at Churchill Downs. Should see a nice pace to sit the trip. Probably going to sit mid-pack, I'm guessing, right? Coming out of 3 holes, should save some ground, hitting the turn, and heading for home. I think just coming 2 off the layoff and getting Flavian Flav up aboard. Those 2 guys with Chad, those 2 guys are just too dangerous for me not to land on Portfolio Duration.
Yeah, I think this horse obviously has a chance. Mr. Harrison?
Yeah, I'm actually right on board. I'm jumping on your bandwagon, Mr. Saletta. That's my top pick, Portfolio Duration. And I think the reason is I just kind of backed into this horse because I struggled with this race also. I don't like anybody. And I thought it was very wide open. There's no world beaters in here. There's horses coming out of, higher SOR races. But, geez, Classic. I tried to make a case for Classic Q. But this horse, I mean, she hasn't won since July of last year. And she looks like she tires late in a lot of races. Yeah. Can she win this race? Oh, absolutely. If I'm playing horizontals, I will tell you I will throw her in because she is dangerous. Pinup Betty, Maggie Go. I just don't love this field, in all honesty. So I just think Chad has Pratt on board. You got a typical improving filly for the Chad Brown barn. I mean, at Tampa, could have won 3 races in a row, was just a little short in the first race, which is typical Chad. I mean, he doesn't win usually first time 2 turns. It's just an education. Then these horses close like maniacs, and she's probably improving. It's going to take another step forward. She was prohibitive favorites in all of her races. So she's well regarded here. It's not a strong field. Yeah, Mike, you probably had the same concern. She's moving up from like a 60 SOR, right? 74. But the horses who run 74, 75, 76 SOR races, I mean, they're not world beaters, like I said. So so I landed squarely on the 3, Portfolio Duration. I was almost tempted to put my second on top, But we can go back to that after you go next, Justin.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you both. I thought this race was kind of wide open. I didn't trust the 3, but I can see why you put her on top. I didn't put her on top. But I was kind of like, well, and I kind of struggled between Classic Q and Maggie Go as my top pick. The win percent show it's pretty wide open. On the race sim, I think there's enough speed moving on up. I think we'll be there. Classic Q sometimes, Mike, like you said, doesn't break well. I'm gonna land on the 2 though, to the outside, the other Chad Brown. I mean, Chad Brown, Irad. It's Michael Dubb. I mean, Argentinian bred, ran well last out at Gulfstream at 8.5. They do cut back, kind of a question to me. But I think there's enough speed, especially if Classic Q doesn't break well. It's still gonna inject pace because Classic Q, she gonna be ranked then trying to go to the lead. Like she needs the lead. So I think somebody comes off the pace. I do think Classic Q could run a bang up race. I agree with you, David. But there's some risk there for me to put on top. I didn't love the 3. I know we'll talk about the 2. So I land on the 9. I mean, has a really strong GSR, right up there with Classic Q. And you get the good boy Irad, gonna be a price on this horse. So I landed on the 9. So I'm 9 on top. Mike, you were 3 portfolio duration along with David. Mike, where'd you go underneath?
Yeah, I fell on Sweet Rebecca. It was between Sweet Rebecca. I looked at moving on up too, was interesting, but not winning in eight last races for Safi is kind of unusual. You'd think that there would have been another place for her to find a position to win. She was in that Honey Fox as well. So that's where I landed on Sweet Rebecca as my second pick. Her last 2, last one against the 74 SOR group. Again, stalking trip for Brendan Walsh, and you get Tyler aboard, who's an excellent turf rider himself as well. 3rd off the layoff, cuts back, 16th of a mile here. So and I could easily put Sweet Rebecca on top without a problem. I just was looking for a little bit more of a price with portfolio duration, who I think has just as good of a chance. So that's why I put portfolio duration on top, just for the price.
Yeah, I think they both take a ton of money.
Yeah,
that'd be my my guess. But yeah, no, I had her in 3rd, so I don't disagree with you. David, where'd you go second?
Justin, I was so this close of reversing my top pick with my second pick. Let me go to a horse who everybody's going to overlook, and I'm warning you, do not overlook this horse in this race. And that's the 1, Italian Soiree. Just go back, Italian Soiree out of Uncle Mo. Go back to the first Church start, September 14th in Natalma. Grade 1 at Woodbine, ran a 4th, 3 lengths behind the winner. Then went to Keeneland, grade 2, Jessamine, 2 3/4 lengths behind the winner, a 5th place finish. April 27th, didn't run, checked, had an excuse against Laurelin, who's a good turf filly. A dirt race you can throw out. Came back in a Coronation Cup at 15-1, got a perfect trip going 5.5 furlongs on a good turf course and beat Laurelin by a length and had the rail post or an inside post. It was a 2-post that day. Don't know what happened in the Music City at 36-1. Glen Cove was, again, didn't embarrass herself. Here's the key, though. Off the layoff, comes to a very weaker race. What's it, a 62 SOR?
Yeah.
Favorite, got confidence, won that race rather easily. What happened? Graham Motion is a turf trainer, took over the training of this horse. John Terranova, I love him as a trainer. To me, he's one of the most underrated trainers in New York, but everybody knows John Terranova mostly success as a dirt trainer. He had success with this horse who won the Coronation in grade 3 at 15-1. Now, did the good turf course move this horse up? Possibly. But now Graham Motion takes over, and who picks up the mount? Manny Franco. Draws the inside post, can save some ground. I'm hoping the inside's good. And I think this horse has got a real good chance to hit the board and light up your exactas. And I wouldn't be shocked if this horse, wins the race or is right there at the finish. So that's my long shot special of the day, Italian Soiree. I'll use it with the 3, but obviously 3-1 on top is my top play. And
I love your comments because I looked at this horse and there was like this kind of like weird feeling I had about Italian Story. I'm like, Manny and Graham, and it might have been the first time I kind of landed. I started looking at a horse with Manny on it because I don't know how many mounts he has, but I was like, what's happening here? And then I saw the stretch out, David, and going off that turf race, just kind of a prep here. You get an 8-point GSR. And you talked about all those past races going 2 turns on the grass. I mean, the Jessamine, like you said, was the 76th. She only lost by 3 lengths. And you look there, and Dave Duncan, who's on, talks about this. If you subtract those lengths with the SOR of 2, it's a 2-point SOR drop, and she lost by 3 lengths. Like, she fits here. And then, like you said, I mean, the Aqueduct race, I don't know what happened. I mean, you were kind of going through that, but it's I like your long shot. Like, that's a great call. Like, I do think, because this race to me just seems so wide open. All right, that's the Distaff. Cheech, good to see you. Scrat, Oldy, have a great time, of course. And we are going to the 8th. The Pat Day Mile, 3-year-old boys, $750,000 purse. There's a big speed runner in here. Englishman, Mr. Harrison. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a consensus here that's common. From what I've heard through the grapevine, Sherry DeVoe's got a special horse here in the 1 here, Englishman out of Maxfield, working well. Won his first 2 starts impressively, both by 7, almost exactly the same, right? 7 1/4, 7.5 lengths, wider each time. I'm going up to the top, Scotty Pick, top pace, top win percentage, top EE morning line. Got a huge advantage on the pace metric from a 99 to down to 7. Crown the Buckeyes got a 72. This horse is going to be awfully tough to beat. If you're looking at a Pat Day Mile, this is maybe one of the weaker Pat Day Miles that I've ever encountered. And at this point, I'm clearly on the 1. And I apologize. I might have mentioned that BU was probably my best bet of the day. BU does, as far as best bet, offering a little bit of value. Englishman will be the prohibitive favorite. And I think it's probably the lock of the day, as long as the horse gets off out of the gate. Now, we haven't seen this horse not win on the lead. If he got off to a bad start, all bets are off. But that hasn't happened yet. He draws the rail. He's going to be gunned. And he looks like a solid play here.
Mr. Saletta?
Yeah, so we did end up on the same horse. One could point out that the last race at Fairgrounds did have Lasix, but no concern there because he did win his debut without it as a 2-year-old. So no concerns there. It did win at Churchill Downs too, going 7 furlongs in his debut. In this being a 1-turn mile should suit him just fine. This is one I was eyeing up for the Derby early on in as a 2-year-old. I think I was watching a bunch of his works when he was working as a 2-year-old, and just kind of thought he had a nice turn of foot in his works and such. So one that I've kept my eyes on, and kind of maybe a little bit biased here, knowing what I knew about him as a 2-year-old. And I just think he's going to have the easy trip on the rail with such a huge speed presence. I just don't think anybody's going to catch him here, in my opinion. Now others are liking some others in here. I don't think we'll get the 3-1. The EE morning line probably is much closer to what we'll get, but this is probably my single, at least one of the singles in the sequence coming up.
So I remember watching that race. I just put a little note, right? One easy geared down, 144 and 1 at the half. I mean, at Fairgrounds, which obviously can always be speed favoring, especially on the dirt track like that. I mean, one of the top GSRs, one of the top SORs, Cherie, Jose. I only had one horse in this race. Like, I was like, I don't think this horse is gonna lose. This field not even good. But I mean, and again, that's just my opinion. I just didn't think it was a great group, and I just think this horse faster and just gonna run them off their feet. I mean, I just bye-bye. I think Jose gonna be gone. Obviously, David, if on the rail something happens, but rail can usually be fine. But yeah, if you don't break, we're in serious trouble. But I, it's just there's not much other speed, right? Like, not gonna take pressure. Just gotta get out of the gate and go. Like, I didn't like anybody else in the race. So
no, and Dave, Duncan just made a good point. He's got a word that velocity, the 6 crude velocity, is a freak. It could chalk out. This could easily be a 1-6 exacta. The one thing I mentioned about the one, has never faced, only 2 starts, never faced adversity. If the one gets off slow or gets a bad trip or something, we don't know how the horse can react. But that's the case with a lot of these younger horses. Again, it could be a 1-6. It's chalking out. It'd be a very low exacta, but. And that'll lead me into, again, since I like a 1, I very rarely will play a, favorite exacta. If I like a chalk, I'm looking for a exacta with a horse who's got value. And that's where I landed on the 5 Stop the Car. 20-1 morning line. You're not getting 20-1 morning line on. If you get 20-1, I'd lock it in right now. I mean, you look at this horse won at a mile over the track as a 2-year-old. And, to me, that was a good race at 16-1. Had the rail post. Tyler was aboard, and then went to the Lecomte and again faced Golden Tempo, who's obviously in the Derby. And, mile and a 16th, it was not a bad race, and maybe doesn't want to go a distance. His horse is out of maximum security. Had to lay off and came back in the Grade 3 Turfway race, the JR Steakhouse race. Full effort, stark contrast. I mean, they're probably good horses. We don't know how they're going to be on the dirt on Saturday, but full effort's out. Isn't full effort out? So we know what he's going to be on Saturday. He's not going to be running, correct? So my point is, he had the 12 post in that race. First time on synthetic. He did close up willingly and finished 4th when he had a terrible post. I don't mind the outside post at Turfway for the 1 or 2 races I bet the entire season. But it was not an embarrassing race. It maybe gave him some bottom, cuts back, and I think he's the long shot value play. And again, it could easily be 1-6, but I'm going to go with a 1-5 exactly here.
All right, you got the 5 underneath, Mr. Saletta.
Yeah, so I definitely am chalking out here. And this may be one of those races where if I get the right value of a 1/6, I might hammer the crap out of it. And I inherited the Matt Miller way of playing these types of things. If I think it's going to chalk out with a high level of confidence, and you give me 5-1 with two chalks, one over the other, or especially in daily doubles, I'll take that all day long. The thing about 6 and Dave Duncan, it's crazy you said that, closing on a speed bias track at Santa Anita, now heading to Churchill down. That's the exact same note I wrote down. So great minds think alike. So crude velocity also 2 for 2. It's Bob. Here's the thing. It's Flo. I know Flo can be hot and cold. Flo's been the rider on both the wins. So he's sticking with Flo. That's my only concern. But to Dave's point and mine is that Santa Anita can be a very speed favoring track in sprints, and he was able to manage both those wins coming off the pace. That is 6.5 furlong win. Debut win was 3.5 lengths off. He broke almost dead last and was able to track him down. Now that was against the 56 SOR group, right? He's going to be facing much tougher here. I do like the work patterns, and a couple nice works between that last race and now. And again, it's just my concern over Flo managing the trip and getting him in that right position. That and the fact that Englishman can probably control his pace. So that's the only reason why. And the other concern I had is this will be the first time not with LASIK. So I just don't know how he's going to react to that either. So the two knocks are Flo and coming off LASIKs for why I kind of backed off him and put him underneath. I still think he has a great chance, though, for sure.
Yeah, I was probably a little bit too harsh on crude velocity and Bob, but yeah, I could see a chalk out. And David, your long shot closing on the race sim, the 5 horse too. Tough post as we talked about. Anything out the 9 again, it's 3 for 105 from the 9 post out since 2025, going a dirt mile. Anybody else? Oh, why don't one of you or both of you want to talk about the other horse you have, Trouble Calling?
Yeah, I'll start off. I mean, I just figured that, again, it may be a mistake leaving at crude velocity, but I mean, this horse Trouble Calling in his last race on the Lafayette sloppy track had closed for a win and broke its maiden. Maybe a late developer for Greg Foley. Louis stays. 5-1 morning in a field that I don't think is the strongest, and I'm just thinking maybe this horse stretching out is going to improve. Obviously, I don't think it's not enough to win, but maybe to hit the board for a minor placing.
Yeah, it's just to feed off of that. Just that last win, that was a pretty big step in improvement off of the Fairgrounds race too. Added another furlong in that race. Now he's going to add another one. Just seems to be in the right progression in his 3-year-old campaign. And Saez could decide to put him a little bit more forwardly placed, knowing that there is some low in speed in here and can't allow Englishman to get too far away from him. I don't think he's going to get away with being 4.5, 5 lengths off the pace and then trying to track down Englishman this time around. So that was my only concern, not having him much further up. But
very good point, Mike, because I figured with Louis on, who's a more aggressive rider sometimes than Pratt, even though the pace metric indicates the 7 should be stalking in second, with that inside draw with Louis on the 2, and seeing the speed this horse had on February 14th, Louis might be right off this horse. Yeah. So, and God forbid if Englishman gets off slow, then I think Louis may be on a lead here. So I thought he had a chance to be competitive here. I don't love him in the win or place, win spot necessarily, but I think he'll run a decent race.
Agree.
Yeah, if the one don't break, the two could be dangerous.
Yep.
Obviously. So, all right, that's race 8, the Pat Day Mile. All right, gentlemen, race 9. I think we're back to the turf. We
Yep.
are 3-year-olds, the American Turf Stakes, grade 1, 8.5. A good race, I thought. Big field. We got 14, it looks like. Mr. Harrison, where'd you land here?
Well, I landed on a first-time turfer. So does that surprise anybody? No. I think Oldy mentioned that last night. Thanks for the shout out, but I didn't like the horse that he liked. But before I begin to discuss the horse that I landed on as my top choice, I will just say that the 4 Star Contrast is going to be awful tough to beat. Just go to that. I mean, the grade 3 Zuma Beach at Santa Anita first. Breeders' Cup Turf Classic, Breeders' Cup Turf Juvenile, right? Yes. Just missed by 3/4 of a length at 58 to 1. Then he comes back and the Eddie Logan just romps and then goes to Turfway. Okay, so he's going to be tough to beat. With that being said, let's go to my top pick. And this is too good to pass up. And the top pick I'm landing on is the 5 Blackout Time. One of my favorite jocks, Louis, picks up the mount, comes out of the Arkansas Derby, stalked the pace in the Arkansas Derby, and just didn't last and kind of just came up empty in the stretch. The line says, and he did lose to Renegade, who face it is going to be one of the favorites in the Kentucky Derby. Not a bad horse to lose to, right? Now before that, in the Rebel. Mile in the 16th, he kind of just again stalked the pace and tired late in the Breeders' Cup Futurity last year. Lost to Ted Nafi, but a strong second. But the common denominator there is maybe he's losing ground in each race, going a mile and over a mile. Maybe this horse is a 1-turn mile closer, was how he broke its maiden. But I'm not sure. I have to give this horse one chance on the turf, and I think you're going to see a big performance here. Now, granted, and the GSR doesn't. He's 85, and the top is 93, so that's a solid GSR. We got a morning line of 10 to 1, an EE morning line of 8 to 1. He's 11% win, which first time turf is not a bad number for me to take. He's out of Not This Time, who I love. Not This Time was out of Giants Causeway. I know that would indicate he should like the distance. The dirt races haven't indicated that. It seems maybe, like I said, he could be more of a 1-turn miler. He's worked twice over the turf. I think he's sitting on a huge race for Kenny McPeak here, and wouldn't be surprised. This is the value of the race to me, 10 to 1 Blackout Time. So that's where I landed. First time turfer for Kenny McPeak and Louis Saez.
I put this horse second, David. I love your comments. Yes. So yeah, I a very sneaky move, I think, going to the turf like that in this. And when I saw that, it made me think of you. But yeah, I don't have too much to add other than I think at a price live long shot, Louis gonna do a great job. Give I think a great ride. You gotta imagine it'll be forwardly placed versus this group, although there is some speed, but he gonna be right there to get first jump. So it's interesting. I mean, right at the stretch, look, Blackout Time right there. And then at the finish, there's kind of a few of them. But all right, Mr. Saletta, who you got on top?
Yeah, I went through a lot of horses in this race and I struggled a bit. So I understand Blackout Time. There are a couple others in here that piqued my interest. I think we'll see a hot pace up front with some cheaper speed up there. And again, as I mentioned, the track has been a little bit biased in these routes to closers and those off the pace. So that's where I was kind of concentrating a lot of my choices on. And I ended up on number 12, Remember Mamba, who did beat Vassy, the number 10, and Honey Dutch, the number 9, which would probably be part of the cheap speed up front. And and I think that Honey Dutch will also get a little bit of pace pressure. So that's why I think the pace just sets up for the 12 and other closers possibly here. The post shouldn't hurt him too much because, coming from well off the pace, 3 for 3, second off the layoff, improving with each start. Does have a win back in Keeneland against the 74 SOR group, and as you can see, as he's faced tougher competition, he's been able to win each time. Excuse me. And I'm just wondering what kind of price I'm going to get, right? With so many horses in here, I'm hoping for that 4-to-1 range, possibly. If I get that price, it's one I would consider placing a win bet on. But this was a tough race for me because there's probably 3 other ones that I think could win this race, and it would be hard for me to just kind of put some win money on it unless I got the right price, right? So if I get Remember Mamba at its morning line or so, something like that, I might consider a win bet here. But this is one I might most likely will avoid in the contest.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was a tough race. We already talked about blackout time. That's why I kind of liked the price there. But I ended up with Remember Mamba on top too, Mike. I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan though, so it's probably a little bit of connection there because obviously they named this horse, I'm assuming, after Kobe. But one of the greats playing basketball. I watched that race. I mean, it was closing. Let me look at my notes. Yeah, and Jose for Cherie, right? Was at Keeneland Fairgrounds, Keeneland. Oh, that's right. I knew I had to know. When I watched that race, I thought that he was a little bit green on the turf, right?
Yeah.
And then just kind of came closing like crazy in the Transylvania. If you're E user, you can kind of, when you look on the race sim, I always like to kind of second to the finish, and you get an idea of like these horses that are gonna have this kick or even third to the finish, right? So to me, gives a little bit of I try to visualize it a little bit different because just the stretch to the finish doesn't quite get it, but I think, you have Jose gonna have to kind of overcome from out here, but I think it'll be an okay spot. And I do think that if the speed's kind of hot, it's gonna set up for David. You talked about stark contrast, obviously Vassy and Remember Mamba, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm with you though. I put the 12 on top. Mr. Harrison, I know you talked about stark contrast. Is that where you went second?
Oh yeah, that's a clear, solid second choice for me. As far as the horse that Remember Mamba, you guys like, I'm concerned with that outside post, and I think stark contrast. Personally, I think stark contrast will end up going off as the post time favorite. Personally, based on those performances.
Sure.
So I'm solidly on a 5-4 here. Remind me, who's my 5-4-10? Okay, the 10. Vassy. Yeah, I mean, again, you could go probably 5 or 6 or 7 deep here. I've heard other prognosticators love other horses. Everybody's all over the place, but I mean, if you take Remember Mama, Honey Dutch, Vassy, they're hard to separate. Even Alpeland is hard to separate. Greenwich Village has got a shot. I mean, so it's just a matter of, okay, I mean, you've got to settle somewhere, but I think stark contrast may be the horse who's better than all of them. But again, at this point, it was hard to, leave some of the others out. This is just a very competitive field. Mike, and I agree with you, to have a lot of confidence in the contest in a race like this. My advice to you, my friend, would be to go all in on blackout time and you win the whole thing. I know you're not going to go all in on a 12-to-1 shot. So,
but That's all right. My buddy Liam, who's in the chat from Trinidad, he and I talk on almost a regular basis, and he's been talking about blackout and hoping that blackout time getting on the turf because he knows that he should be able to take to the turf pretty well. So he's been putting a bug in my ear. So I might have to reconsider this potential wager come this time in the contest. So we'll see. But I trust my boy Liam, and obviously David, I trust you. So hey, you never know. I could pivot, say to heck with remember Mamba. I'll forget Mamba and I'll go to blackout time. How does that? I'll just drink some beers, maybe black out and forget Mamba and black out and bet black.
Listen, right? If this horse does win and Star Contrast finishes second, it might be blacked out by the Derby. That's the only thing I'll say. That's the value play of the day. I picked a few other chalks, but you know me, I'm going to increase my bankroll when there's a long shot potential. So yeah.
Good to see you, Chuck.
Hey, Chuck.
And the only other one we missed, I think that we all have was we talked a little about, is it Vasi or Vasi? I mean, it was also in that Transylvania. I thought definitely fits here. You look, I mean, won back-to-back races going short at Gulfstream, 7.5 and 8 furlongs. And, I think fits in this group. Again, I thought it was a competitive race.
Right.
Very competitive. Yeah, and I think there's some great horses that got crappy posts, like final score. Because it was one that I was looking forward to running in this race, and then when I saw he got a crappy post, I was disappointed. So, crazy.
All right, that's the American Turf 3-year-old boys race 9 on Saturday. All right, gentlemen, we got 3 more. Race number 10, Churchill Downs Stakes, $1 million purse, grade 1, 4 and up. I think a couple horses going to take quite a bit of money in this race. What, Mr. Harrison, what do you think? They're going 7 furlongs on the dirt main track.
Right. Okay. Let's go to the 2 horses first that are taking money, who I'm not putting on top. Now, Knightsbridge, nice horse, 6 for 8 lifetime, and the other 2 races, a second and a third, never been off the board. The 2 times it's always been favored and prohibitively favored at that 9-5 morning line. The only performance at Churchill, it was a win, but just check this out. I've never raced in a grade 1, only grade 3s. And really, who has this horse beaten? He beat who the competition was. I mean, he beat BU back in at Aqueduct when BU, I believe, he was coming off a layoff also. But again, you can't really knock a horse like that too much, but I will, because I just don't think he's beaten anybody. And as far as Cornucopian, that would be a horse I would use in second. We'll go back to that. It's 3rd race off a layoff. It looks to be sitting on a huge race here for Bob Baffert. But let's go to a horse who I think is a real sleeper. And it's not going to be a tremendous price, but once I talked this horse up, the more and more I looked at it, the more and more I love this horse. And that's the 1 Disco Time. Now, draws the rail at 7. Not the greatest. However, just hear me out on this. Look at his races. Coming off the Dwyer, a romp in the Dwyer. Before that, the St. Louis Derby. Again, a weak field. He just demolished. So then he goes into the next season as a 4-year-old. And where do they put him? In the Pegasus right off the bat. He draws the rail. That point in the Gulfstream meet, you do not want to be on the rail. He was overbet, and I would have never used him that day. He may have been the worst play in the history of the Pegasus. First time stretching out to 1 1/8 in the inside post. There was some other speed pressing him. He's facing a tough grade 1 field. I didn't think he was a good bet at all. He got the lead and just packed it in. And again, the rail to me was deeper at that point of the meet. And there's a number of handicappers that agree with me. Mike Welsh, the workout guy, he mentioned that the entire early part of the meet when I was down there. So now, second race off a layoff, they put him in the Challenger, and he was prohibitive favorite at 2-5, 3-5, and he got beat by Disruptor. Now, Tampa is kind of a quirky track at times. Either you like Tampa or you don't. Same thing with Parks, in my opinion. Now, is it a thing that maybe he doesn't really want to go a mile and a 16th? Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't want to go a mile and an 8th. But I sure will tell you this. He will go 7 furlongs. He broke his maiden over this track at 7 back on November 1st. Followed it up over this track with an easy win as the big favorite and a $100,000 claimer. So he can go a mile. He's 2 for 2 at this track, draws an inside post. It's Brad Cox who picks up the mount. Pratt off, of course, because Pratt is, where's Pratt going?
Pratt's on Imagination,
which surprised me because he must have a great imagination, because I think that horse has no shot. Cornucopian will dust him. So I just think, Disco Time with the cutback reverses the tables on Disruptor, who's maybe an improving horse also. And don't forget, besides 2 for 2 at Churchill, Disco Time is 5 for 7 lifetime. Is another knot this time out of Giants Causeway, sits a perfect trip here. And JR picking up the mount, has a good workout on April 25th. So I'm all over this horse. Top pick for me, Disco Time in the grade 1 Churchill Downs handicap.
David, I love Disco Time here too for all the things you said. You pretty much, I think you covered everything I had. I love the cutback. I love back to Churchill. You covered both of those races at Gulfstream and Tampa. Like, there's a lot of people have been the favorite in all 7 races, 5 wins. There's a lot of people knocking Disco Time here, but I love Disco Time just like you. I think, I think he'll get a pretty good price too. I don't think he'll get 12-1, but I agree. I don't worry too much about the rail, honestly. I think that they'll get a good stocking trip. There's some ugly speed in this race. Yeah. Edwin Gonzalez is 100% sending the 11. I mean, I think the pace is going to be so freaking hot here. Like, Macho Music's fast, man. I mean, this horse quick. And then you got Edwin. Edwin's so aggressive, and this might be his only mount all day. I couldn't believe he was here when I saw that. But I thought that this race is going to set up perfect for Disco Time. There's obviously some other runners, but I agree with you. Mr. Saletta, where'd you go on top?
Yeah, so I agree with you guys as far as the pace breakdown. I think it should be pretty hot up front. It will lend itself to somebody from off the pace, excuse me, and or just behind the pace, or far enough back to hopefully pass some tired horses. And I did fall on Knightsbridge. And here's the thing. I realize that he hasn't faced some of the competition that others have faced in here. But there's other horses in here that have faced tougher, like Hall of Fame. I think, Banishing has faced much tougher. T.O. Elvis is very interesting. Has won some overseas races that I think were tougher competition here. But I think for me, it's going to be the position where Knightsbridge is going to be just off of the heels of those leaders, right? And will get the proper positioning. I don't like the price because I think he's going to take a ton of money. That's my only concern. But he's really done nothing wrong for me to not, to say no. I don't think this guy has a chance here. Granted, is coming off the 2-month layoff. Was kind of a weak grade 3 group that he won very convincingly. So as you pointed out, David, not facing the toughest of competition. But again, I think he's just going to be there running for home. and I think he's got a great late kick that he can outlast some of the others that I think will be there. Disruptor, Your Horse, Disco Time, I think is going to be right there. And we're knocking imagination a little bit, but he's going to be right there too. I think those 4 horses, Knightsbridge, Imagination, Disruptor, and Disco Time, as they turn for home at the quarter pole, those 4 I can just see blanket finish at this race. I just can see it.
Well, that's what the race sim shows, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Right? I
Crazy.
mean,
Yeah.
no, I agree. All right, so you and I, David, got Disco Time. Mike, you have Knightsbridge. David, where else did you go underneath?
I believe my top, let's see, let me just look at my grid here. Yeah, my second pick was Cornucopian. Like I said, again, Knightsbridge can easily win the race. And don't get me wrong, if I'm playing horizontals, I'm going to throw Knightsbridge in, because even though I don't think the value is there, but Cornucopian, I think, offers a little more value. Probably be, the second choice in the race. Second off the layoff, third off the layoff. This horse has been favored every time. Yeah, did he lose twice? His prohibitive favorite. Yeah, he got involved in a speed duel once, going a mile and an eighth in the Arkansas Derby, where they just that was a ridiculous speed duel. And then in that Aqueduct race, I don't know what happened to him, but he got a bump start. And Garamond is not a bad horse. Oldy was kind of well regarded last year, and didn't never really follow through with that potential. So off the long layoff, this horse, Baffert wouldn't ship this horse over if this horse wasn't sitting on a big race. So I'm clearly on the one, squarely on the 1-2 exact in this race, and I guess my third pick would have been the 6. And I'm just going to say that I don't like the 7 Imagination whatsoever coming into this race, from the Middle East. And to me, horses sometimes take a couple of races to get back into their groove. After that, if I'm going to use anybody else for third or fourth, maybe it would be the 11 Point Doom, who is from that outside, is got a gun and may have enough to hold on. I mean, this horse is have won 11 races. So 1-2 for me, and I'm against the 7 and Knightsbridge or Point Doom to run third.
Mike, where'd you go underneath?
Yeah, I ended up with the 5 Disruptor, third off the layoff, won the Grade 3 Challenger last out. Both the last 2 wins have been at Tampa. A little different surface here at Churchill Downs, but what I like is the progression, turning it into the 4-year-old, won that 58 group, going 7 furlongs just off the pace. Then follow that up with that Challenger Grade 3 with a 72 SOR group, and at 8.5 furlongs, now cutting back to 7 furlongs. Again, third off the layoff, like I was saying, I just like that progression and it turning into his 4-year-old career, and in that making those big step improvements like that. Irad, Pletcher, Rapoli's got a little interest in this. Probably the race. Watch Rapoli win this race, and then he's got the full interest on all these other horses, and they won't win. So his minor interest will be the one that wins at a price. But yeah, I think he has a solid chance here. As I mentioned, I think we're gonna have a blanket finish with the 4 of them in this one. So Disruptor, I think it's gonna be right there on the improve.
And then can we go to the store?
Yeah, no, I agree, Mike. I had Disruptor third. You want to talk about the 3? I'm assuming that's your long shot Macho Music.
Yeah, it was just again, I think it was if there is any kind of stumble from Point Doom on the lead in having such a inside post, second off a layoff, has been facing much tougher, did okay at Churchill Downs back in the Pet Day Mile last year, winning, right? Cutting back from that race. Now that was on a sloppy off track, maybe that benefited him on the front end there. If Point Doom can't break out of the 11 post and kind of gets an easy lead, controls the pace here, who the heck knows, man? If 30-1 could have a chance to wire this field. I'm just going off his laurels of the Pat Day Mile last year, and granted, again, was slop, so he might have got that track bias being sloppy like that, but it was against the 76 SOR group, so
yeah. All right, that is the 10th. David, we're going to be rooting for Disco Time. Mike, you have nice on top, but Disco Time can be a price, can be fun to watch. All right, 2 more. 1 turf, and then the big one. But first, before the Derby, the Forrester Bourbon Turf Classic Stakes, 1.5 milli, 4 and up, grade 1. Rhetorical, probably going to be the heavy favorite, would be my guess. What do you think here, Mike?
Yeah, this is one I was struggling with again. I don't know, it's all these turf races I've been struggling with on the card. So I think again we could see someone corruption getting to an easy lead, nobody pressing them. But again, I'm trying to lean in towards the track bias. I'm looking for somebody off the pace, and that's where I landed with number 9, Test Score. I think he's going to have a lot to say about this coming from home, off the pace, 3 wins and 4 tries, going a mile and an eighth. Is coming off a 3-month layoff, but is training very well since. Get Manny again to ride, who won in the last race at the why can't I think, down in Gulfstream. What's the big freaking race?
Pegasus World Cup.
Thank you. Jeez. I must be tired. So the good thing is it keeps the blinkers on. It seems to be working for him. So Graham keeps the blinkers on. He runs a race like he did in the Pegasus. I see him winning here with ease. But I did struggle with the race. That's who I just landed on. I think you can make a case for 2 or 3 others in here.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. Mr. Harrison?
Yeah, I'm on the same. I'm on board with Michael here. I mean, I really struggle with this race also. I do like the race, but I mean, I was all over the place. I was trying to make a case for program trading, but that horse hasn't won since, May of 24 in the Turf Classic over this course, and they've renamed it, right? It's now he won this race in 2024. So again, Spotty will run well, doesn't seem to get the right trip. So I'm looking at the Chad Brown horses, and I'm like, you know what? When I get 2 Chad Browns, and this happens rather than getting 2 Chad Browns up at Saratoga all the time. Sometimes you get a stakes race, you get 4 or 5 Chad Browns in a 7-horse field, and really even in some of the Belmonts, the race before the Belmont, the turf race, you get 3 or 4 or 5 Chad Browns, and inevitably the 3rd or 4th or 5th choice wins the race. It's just amazing to me. It's mind-boggling in wide open races. So it made me take another look at somebody in here who I landed on ultimately as my top pick, who I think is a little sneaky here, and that's the 3 Asbury Park. Now, a lot of these horses have been around. A lot of these, they have a lot of starts, 12 starts, 11 starts, 18. Rhetorical's only got 8, but Gold Phoenix is in here with 30, Astronomer 25. I mean, so my point is, a lot of them have been around. They've taken turns beating each other. And this is obviously not first time turf, but if you look at this horse's form, it's okay. And I will tell you that I don't think it's anything, this horse is no world beater. It is out of Frankel. So if you look at when this horse broke its maiden was at Saratoga and was favored, and then favored in his first turf start. And Chad doesn't win all the time with his first-time starters going long on the turf. Then again, an optional claimer of 100,000 had the rail post, had an excuse, hit gate, awkward. And even first of all, I don't like the rail post unless you're getting a lead at Saratoga on that course. So that's a tough post, and he got off bad. Then he lost to Stars and Strides in the Saranac and was closing. And had, again, another, maybe a bad habit, hit the gate, had a bad start. Then went into the Grade 2 Jockey Club Derby Invitational. And that was a nice race. Now, again, it was a 7-horse field, drew a nice, cozy inside 2-post stalked. Manny had a perfect ride that right. Beat Noble Confessor, who I believe just came back at Keeneland and won, correct? So this horse to me may have, out of Frankel, for Peter Brandt, Chad Brown, Pratt picks up the mount, is back on, off the layoff. I think this horse now doesn't have speed, but I mean, I just think this might be a horse with more upside than some of the other ones in here. So I landed on the other Chad Brown, who you get a slightly better price with Flavion Pratt, Asbury Park, the 3, off the layoff. And it's a tepid pick at best. I'll put it to you that way.
I put that horse second, but
Okay.
my only comment, Mike, before you comment where you landed, Flavian finally gives up on program trading. I mean, he'd been aboard. Look at that. I mean, so crazy. And he like, peace, I'm out. I'm going to ride Asbury Park. I did catch it. I did watch some works. Like, I think this horse ready to roll, David. Like, I think that horse 100% fits at this group, but it's big step up. I mean, it's going to be a tough task, but I'm with you. I thought had a shot. Mr. Saletta, where'd you land?
Yeah, I was on test score, but you're talking.
Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put rhetorical on top. I just didn't think it was that great of a group. That's I was 6'3", so you already talked about the 9. David, you talked about the 3. I agree. I mean, rhetorical going to be the favorite. I mean, Walden comes from tougher, and both didn't win after the Breeders' Cup. Common, but ran a great race. Was on the rail on the Maker's Mark at Keeneland. It is an easier group. I just didn't think there's a ton here. I thought this was a great way for Walden to get a great grade 1. I mean, Irad and him do so well right before the Derby. Maybe it'll bring Irad some luck in the Derby. But I like your 3 too, David. But I was 6'3",
9. Right, and the 6 would be my solid second pick here, and I think is going to be really tough to beat. And by the way, there's a New York bred, so you don't see many New York breds. So, and Irad picks up the mount, and it's had it, and beat program trading on the turf, Grade 1 turf mile last October over at Keeneland. Went out for the Breeders' Cup Mile. Tired late. That was a very contentious pace for layoff. Lost to Zulu Kingdom. Was fractious at the beginning of the race. Makes sense, right? So I mean, that would be my other horse. And really, I think if I'm advancing in any horizontals, and again, we have the toughest race coming up at 20-horse field. So I don't know how deep I'd be going in the Derby, but I would probably go only 2 deep here with the 3 and the 6. So the 6 would be my solid second choice. And test score would be my third. I think test score, I saw this horse run when I was up July 4th weekend and beat World Beater in the Belmont Derby Grade 1, the Belmont Derby Invitational. And then World Beater came back and reversed the tables in the next, and World Beater ended up winning another turf race after that. So I think that, and Mike, that would be I may go 3 deep. Test score, I think, is live here, but I think overall, Rhetorical might be the better horse.
So here's the crazy thing with test score, you guys. Look at his last 4 wins. 8.5 furlongs back in April 7th in Keeneland. Then a decent race in the American turf at Churchill Downs. So he's got some Churchill Downs experience. then comes back in Saratoga and wins against the 70 SOR group.
Mm-hmm.
Then his next win was at Santa Anita. This horse is winning at all tracks. He hasn't won at Churchill Downs, but he came close.
Yep.
So he's been around, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I see him travel well and be able to win. Now, granted, he's not winning against the groups like this. It may not be the class of the group, but man, when you see horses that are traveling around the country like that winning, just to me is another notch in the belt for him to have a good chance here.
I mean, hit the board 11-13, and grade 1, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. No, I'm with you. Oldy said, "Don't dismiss, make me king." That's the shipper from Maydon. All right, boys.
Biggin.
We almost made it. We made it to the last graded stakes. The big race gonna be, looks like 3:57 Pacific, 6:57 Eastern. We will be live. It's gonna be a long day, but gonna be fun. The $5 million Kentucky Derby, all boys this year, 3-year-olds. We've had 2 scratches? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Full effort scratch this afternoon, right? Silent Tactic had already scratched. And I think cut the 2. But I just a comment before we dive in. I've only been around this game for like 11 years. I mean, this race is, to me, and David, we had chatted just briefly this morning. This race kind of crazy. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of horses who won this race. I could have a long list in horizontals. I 100% want to be spread here. Because not just because it's going to be, there's a late pick 5 too that goes into the other races, but I thought it was tough, and it just seems very competitive. There didn't seem to be a massive standout to me, but
agree.
Who want to go first?
Well, I'll go first because I'll get my embarrassment out of the way, because I know Oldy's going to be busting me all week, the next 2 days, he's going to be busting me on my pick. So originally, when I spoke to Oldy a couple of weeks ago, I said, I haven't really looked at the Derby, but based on the prep races that I've seen, especially since I'm more of a Gulfstream guy, I had interest in Chief Wallaby, Commandment. I thought the Puma, and I was going to lean to Chief Wallaby. But then I started looking at the race, and I had the same conclusion that you did, Justin, and we discussed this earlier on the phone. This is a total wide open race, and just so people know my viewpoint on the Derby. I'm not a big fan of 20 horse fields. I love the Derby. I love the event. It's fantastic. All of my non-horse player friends watch one race a year. They don't really care about horse racing, but they will watch the Derby. And they always ask me the same thing. Who do you like in the Derby? Who do you like in the Derby? And I said, well, why do you have to ask me about the Derby? Ask me about the Preakness. Ask me about the Belmont. Ask me about the Travers. Because it's the hardest race to handicap, because 20 horses can lead to chaos. All right. And that's what I look for in these races. I will never bet one of the favorites in a 20 horse field, especially the Derby. And sometimes you get overwhelmed and you don't look at the Derby like a regular race. You look at it as a Kentucky Derby. I look at it as a regular 20 horse field. I could probably go 12 deep here if I was going in horizontals, because it could be chaos. We don't know who's getting the lead. There's 3 or 4 or 5 candidates. Everybody's got their own strategy, but I'm looking for a price. I'm looking for a horse that somebody's going to overlook and it's not going to be bet. And I came up with that horse, and I know Oldy is going to hate this horse. Mm-hmm. And I will admit, the horse that I like comes out of the Virginia Derby. And I will admit the Virginia Derby form has not held up And I'll point out to one horse, Confessional, who finished third and ended up nowhere in the Lexington. He was awful. So, and I don't think anybody's come out of that race and won, done anything at this point. But again, that was in March. That was remember that weekend in March there, Justin? Yes, Mike was going on a monumental early run. Great performance. I watched that race, and I watched this race over and over and over the last 3 days. And the horse I landed on, who was in the Virginia Derby, won it and is the 11 Incredibolt. Okay, hear me out. Don't knock my pick until you hear me out. First of all, nice workout on April 26th at Churchill. What's his record at Churchill Downs? 2 starts, 2 wins. Okay, he broke his maiden easily at 2-1 at mile distance, and then he comes back in the Street Sense and won that race pretty impressively. Again, it's a grade 3. It's last year, has nothing to really do with this year. Horses sometimes move up from, develop from 2 to 3. Sometimes they're better at 2. Most of them improve at 3. Okay, where does he come back? He comes back in the Holy Bull. And what does he draw? What post position does he draw? Just like Disco Time drew in the Pegasus, he gets the rail post in the Holy Bull. You don't want to be on the rail. I'm telling you, that day you did not want to be on the rail. He did not fire and just totally backed up. It's basically almost, you could say he was eased, never ran. And that's what I like. If you're not going to win the race, you're not going to be a contender, just take the horse back and live to fight another day. They're looking for a spot. This horse is, needed some confidence. And if you look at the replay of the Virginia Derby, he was offered 6-1. You had Butane, who was a prohibitive favorite, drew the inside post, got trapped, had an awful trip. Butane's out. He's out of the Derby. He just didn't fire. He had a chance, and he did not fire, and it was a terrible trip. But if you watch Incredibolt, he was in traffic coming around the far turn. He was stalking, getting a perfect trip, and he squeezed in between horses and drove down to the rail. He was in traffic, like I said, and he came flying up the rail. Don't get me wrong, got the perfect trip. The rail opened up. He came up the rail, won impressively, and drew off. And I think he had a lot of horse left in him. I like the fact that he was in between horses. He's going to be in between a lot of horses in a 20-horse field. He showed a little courage to me, and I like the replay. I like what I saw on the track. You can look at, replays are very important to me, and I think that he's going to do well in a big field because I don't think he got intimidated. He had a perfect ride. He did not panic. He was comfortable coming up the rail in between horses. So that's my long shot special. Incredibolt, who is, don't forget, 2 for 2 over the Churchill Downs racing strip. And then Oldy, go ahead, join in and knock me to hell. But so you got to pick somebody on top. I would think he's going to run a great But I wanted to pick somebody on top who's going to be a price. Do I think he's going to win? I'm not sure. Who knows? Anybody can win. I think he'll run in the money or in the top 4. And to me, out of all the horses in the race, he's the value of the value.
I had to cut the 2 in the chat. Somebody, Gatekeeper. Somebody asked where the 2 was. Oh yeah, Gatekeeper. So I cut the 2 so we could see everybody, because now we can't see the 19. I didn't think the 2 had a shot, but hey,
no, I don't think so either.
I struggled to cut a lot of other horses though. When I went through, I'm like, okay, who can I cut to get everybody on the screen? And it was the 2 horse. So the 19, if we take the 2 out, then you catch Golden Tempo. David, I honestly, like this year when I looked at the race, I'm like, I wouldn't laugh at any pick really. I mean, just because it's just I don't know. And in like all my years, I just feel like it's one of those races that it's just not like a big standout coming in. And I think because of that, I think that the favorites could be a little bit vulnerable because they'll take a lot of action still. But like you, I was kind of on Chief Wallaby for a long time, but I didn't put Chief Wallaby on top. But Mike, where'd you land on top for the Derby?
Yeah, this Derby's been tough. I mean, I've been going to the Derby for 25 years. This will be the first time outside of COVID year that I'm missing. So I'm having a little FOMO. And maybe that's why part of the reason why I'm fog brained and trying to figure out a winner, because usually I have this shit figured out well before. Because I'm traveling down there Wednesday. I sure as hell have no time. We're having a good time down there. I'm not going to handicap squat from Wednesday, so I'm usually pretty well, bought into who I want. And now that I have a little bit more time, even though I had to travel for work this week, maybe that was too much thinking. But yeah, so I had a hard time falling on a single horse. So it's going to be tough for me to bet this in the contest. I'm hoping to get to the number in the previous race, but I think it's hard to avoid this in the contest anyway. So I'm falling on emerging market. I know only 2 starts, did not race as a 2-year-old. What else do we want to throw at it? That, oh, by the way, not going to have Lasix again. Didn't beat all the greatest competitions in the Louisiana Derby. We can knock the crap out of this horse, but I'm telling you, this horse has talent. Maybe he doesn't win Saturday, right? But I tell you what, this horse is going to be great later on this year if he does not win here. I just think he's got that much talent. You watch him work in the mornings. He is taking to the track very well. He does get my boy Flavian Pratt up aboard. That's Chad's boy, right? Pratt, by the way, if you haven't seen the stats, he's like 6 out of the last 8 derbies. It's his derby mounts, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's been in the top 4. I think he's had 1 win, 1 second, and 3 thirds. The guy just gets his horses in position. This horse he's gonna put this horse in position, coming around the far turn at the quarter pole, and get him in position to have a chance here. He's going to be faced with Chief Wallaby. He's probably going to have to track down Further Ado. That's going to be a tall task, because I think Further Ado is going to be right there, probably on the lead at the quarter pole as they turn for home. And that horse, with the way it ran last out, or has the ability to have those big races, I'm a little worried about him bouncing, but I think he's going to be the horse that have to be tracked down. But I think Emerging Market has that talent to be able to track down Further Ado, right? Maybe it's too early in his career to do that. Not enough races. He was a little bit green coming down the lane. So again, green, yes. Talent off the freaking charts. So I'm going to go with talent off the freaking charts in a race that's wide open. And yeah, so I'm landing on that, and he's got my boy Flavian on board. So
It's always good. I land on the same horse, Mike.
nice.
So I didn't really change my opinion out from the outset of the Louisiana Derby. Like because I just thought this race was so tough, I'm like, I'm not gonna change it. I mean, I think the talent's there. Took a while, started, stopped to get to the track, right? I think Maddie talked about how it had pneumonia, right? Or I think this horse hasn't gone through as much adversity on the track, but I think it's been there all along to get to the track. I think the talent's there. I think, first time at Churchill, fine.
Yeah.
But I think, on the race sim, I always tell people, and we can talk about 6-speed, but, on the race sim, and it's a 20-horse field, but if you don't like the horse who wins, just cut the horse, and who wins? Emerging Market wins, right? So I always like those situations when I land on a horse. And I will tell you, I mean, out of all of the current, if you can get fixed odds, and I did, so anybody can, I bet Emerging Market 16-1 the other day. Like the horse already down to 12-1 today. I went and looked again because I'm like, but already in the fixed market, the horse already had taken so much action. They moved the horse, right? With the morning line at 6-1, and you look at that, I mean, it's right there. Whether, we can talk Renegade, we can talk Commandment, we can talk Chief Wallaby. I saw somebody in chat mention So Happy, Wonder Dean. Like you can, I mean, in if I'm getting 16-1, like I love that. Like so, but I also think Mike, like you said, has amazing talent. I think this horse really does, and in a race that's so, in my opinion, wide open, why not a horse that didn't necessarily, have all of this adversity and go through it all? Yeah, only raced twice at 3, but this year I don't care because we could knock all the horses for various things, honestly, because there's no standout. So why not take a horse that actually has the talent and upside? I mean, what if this horse go on to win the Triple Crown? I'm just saying, like, I'm not calling that, but I mean, who knows, right? I mean, in this field, in my opinion, I think there's enough talent here where it would be hard this year for a horse to do that. But I do think Emerging Market, it's Chad, it's Pratt, it's Claravich Stables. He's bred great. He's been doing well. I think it's going to be dangerous. So I'm with you, man. It's going to be good.
Justin Oldy points out, the problem that Chad had with his barn, I think it was pneumonia, right? That went through.
Yeah.
His filly struggled with, and she's lightly raced. And I think she has a great chance too in the Oaks. Just a runner. They had that illness, and then it's a testament to getting them healthy and Chad getting them on a right regimen back to put their feet underneath them. And look what those horses have done. It's just amazing that they went through that turmoil and be able to run as 3-year-olds like this is pretty. I mean, it's compliment to Brad getting these horses ready like that. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And, No, I agree with you guys. The concern I had, I was very impressed with Emerging Market's last race, and that was a mile and 3/16. Don't forget. So this horse can go all day. He would be more of my Belmont horse. I'm still concerned about the lack of seasoning, but I think by the end of the year, I believe that Emerging Market will, if not be the top 3-year-old, one of the top. So let me go to my second and third pick because my battery is going to die any minute. And now I'm going to be a wise guy because I put the long shot on top. I could have easily put my second or third choice on top, which would, be more logical, but I don't treat these races logically. I think Incredible may be more likely to finish third or fourth than first, but my second pick would be the where do we go? The 18, Further Ado. Further Ado in the Bluegrass just demolished that field. May have been a little short in the Tampa Bay Derby when he lost to the Puma. Probably needed that race off the layoff. This horse needed a few races to get to his best form. 2 races at Saratoga before he broke his maiden at Keeneland. The 20 length win. Won the Jockey Club at Keeneland. Another common denominator, he's 1 for 1 at Churchill. I love horses who've won over the track before. I just think this horse, JR picks up the mount. He's sitting in a huge race. And again, in a race that anything can happen. I do have a concern. That's why I put the 11 on top, is that he may be wide and not get the most perfect trip. That's out there pretty far. So I had that concern, but I think he would be one that I will use. And the other one I will use is definitely the 6 Commandment. Nothing wrong. I mean, this horse is 4 for 5 lifetime and beaten Chief Wallaby and the Puma in close finishes. I think this horse fights when confronted. So it's Brad Cox on that end, and Brad Cox, the 2 Brad Cox horses. That's never a bad thing. So if I went 4 deep, I am going, and I would go 4 deep in the horizontals, and that would be including Emerging Market. So it would be Further Ado, Commandment, Incredible and emerging market. So I think you guys are on the right horse there. So, right. But again, I could have reversed the second and third or fourth pick. So, or whatever the deal is. But I think all four of them are contenders. But, you know, to me, I'm going to tell my buddies who never play horse racing, I like Incredibolt, right? Didn't I give you Incredibolt who just won at 28-9-1? And no one wants to say, I'm going to pray. Oh, your friend picked Incredibolt third, you know, so you reach out. But I think it is such a wide open race. I could see 12 horses winning. So with that, gentlemen, my battery is going to die any minute. I'll let you continue. Thank you. We'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you, David.
Chat room. Thank you so much. It's great to be back on a regular format. And may the horse be with all you folks on Derby Day. And we'll rejoin you on Saturday. Gentlemen, have a good night, and thanks for having me on.
Have a good night, David.
Thanks, David. You too. All right. So David is what was he? He was 11-18-6. Commandment and Further Ado underneath Incredibolt. All right, Mike. Who got underneath? Who else is going to be in the mix?
Yeah, so I had Further Ado. David, touched on it. My only concern is a regression from the Bluegrass. He, if you use other metrics and things like that, people toss out Thorograph numbers. He's, had some negative Thorograph numbers and came back with some more positive numbers in the wrong direction and came back again with a 0, I think it was, in the Bluegrass. I still think that Further Ado at the quarter pole will probably be on or near the lead and will be the one to chase down. So with that being said, the number 12 Chief Wallaby, I know he's probably the buzz horse. Everybody's talking about his monster work. For me, those works leading the work 2 weeks ago and then works last week, I just like to watch their motion and not so much their times and things like that. I just want to make sure that they're handling the track very well. They're, as they get closer to this week and they're just galloping out in the mornings and like that. How are they handling the crowds? It's obviously not going to be anything like it's going to be Derby Day as far as crowds go, but more and more people show up at the track in the morning to watch the works. I just want to see how they are react and such at the track. And he obviously has taken to the track very well. The other concern with Chief Wallaby will be adding blinkers, but honestly, he's needed it. He was very green coming down the lane in the Florida Derby. I truly believe had he not been so green and been a little bit more focused coming down the lane, I think he would have won that race. He was just, his head just kind of cocked and just waving all over the place. And if you watch him sometimes in the mornings without it, I don't know if it's just his natural movement or what. So adding those blinkers, I think, will help him concentrate much more and not be so distractive. And I watched his works with the blinkers on, and his head movement was far more in control. And I think that's going to be a difference maker. Everyone says no, first time blinkers at the Derbies is like a big no. This is the first time I'm going to disagree with that, just because watching him with the blinkers on in the mornings and his workout, that strong workout he had, on the 20th, it just made a world of difference for him. And I think it's going to make a difference for him here in the Derby too.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is the horse I watched kind of all year, probably the most, I would say, as it relates to the Derby. And I think I put this horse second. Yeah. And, I think that in this group, where a horse where you have Commandment going to take money, you have Renegade going to take money on the rail, Chief Wallaby could be the one that gets overlooked because the blinkers thing, or people didn't quite pan out like they thought. I think a lot of people were higher on this horse, but I hadn't heard the recent news. I haven't got a chance to watch him much this week, so maybe people are getting back on Chief Wallaby. I think a lot of people were on Chief Wallaby and then they maybe got off a little bit. So
yeah,
but Still lots of room for improvement. 3 races as a 3-year-old ran both those races at Gulfstream, right? And was right there, and now gets to 10 furlongs and should be just fine. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Who else we want to talk about? Mike, anybody?
The other buzz horse is the Puma. The nice thing there is off coming in with 4 starts, none as a 2-year-old. That would be the knock on him as well, with no starts as a 2-year-old. It again was right there in the Florida Derby, just like Wallaby, and again blanket finish there. The only again those 3 horses coming out of that race are going to be widely bet with Commandment, Puma, and Wallaby.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, the 3 of them are so close. I'd watch the board and see what's happening with those 3 horses, because I think what I'm envisioning is Puma's probably going to take more money for a lot of reasons, the name, and then folks watching that last race, seeing him in the mornings too. I think he's going to take a little bit more money. The horse that's probably going to start to lose, I think, some of the betting is Commandment. I think he's going to be overlooked in the pool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. I'm not going to put any of those. Commandment's one that I consider putting on top. I am not putting Puma on top. I will probably use Puma in the bottom half, 3rd, 4th position of my tries and supers. I'm just a little bit worried about the distance for Puma. Whereas I think the others can get the distance that came out of that race with Wallaby and Commandment. My worry about Commandment is position in the track and not getting the right trip. That's my only concern. Luis is a great rider. He's won Derby, and I just worry about getting the right trip for Commandment. But they easily could win. They're talented horses. They easily could win.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one. But you and I on emerging market, it's going to be hopefully a good price. But I already got some locked in, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I mean, I had early money. I had some 5-figure exactas with Class President. When I found out he wasn't going to run, I was pretty disappointed. But I do have some Chief Wallaby early exactas with Further Ado. So I kind of like it. They're not 5-figure payouts, but I think they're probably like $800 or $900. So at least I got that to look forward to fall back on if my emerging market doesn't hit. But I know Liam and I told each other we need to stop talking about emerging markets so it doesn't take money, because it come contest time, if I need some prices, I'm hoping that emerging market's sitting at that 12-1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We made it through a little over 2 hours, a little bit longer tonight, but 9 stakes races. We'll be back live Saturday for Kentucky Derby, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Starting right before the Knicks go. You will be here, Mike, myself, David will be on, and maybe Scotty will join us for a little bit. And Oldy and Mr. Dave Duncan, have fun at the Derby. Anybody else is going to be there as well.
Yep. Have a great time, you guys. I know you will. Oldy, you can shout out your picks on Twitter if you feel like it, or you don't want to give out your picks and hurt the everybody focusing on your picks and hurt your value, by all means. But I know you'll shout out your picks. And Oldy, hopefully we'll get to see you live on Saturday, right? Are you gonna pop in on us? That would be awesome.
Oldy's Further Ado, So Happy in Emerging Market.
Is that who he has?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Looking forward to it, you guys. Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, Mike, you got your strategy class tomorrow. You can
Yes,
sign
sir.
up on X or Facebook. Great class. You'll be live for the Oaks and other Churchill races tomorrow night under the lights. If you missed it, Oldy and I covered the stakes races for tomorrow. It's on the Equine Edge YouTube channel as well, or it's probably on X somewhere as well. All right, y'all. Have a good evening. Good luck. Join us again on Saturday. We will be back soon. Looking forward to it. And have a good evening. And have a good Oaks Day tomorrow. Chat soon.
Have a good night, guys.